Hello everybody. In this video, we will discuss the anatomy of a URL. You will learn the different parts of a website's web address, and what exactly happens when you visit a website from your web browser. First, let us talk about URLs in web browsing. The internet has become an integral part of our daily lives, and browsing the web has become second nature to most of us. But do you sometimes wonder how websites are accessed? How does your web browser know where to find a specific page or resource on the internet? The answer lies in the URL, or the Uniform Resource Locator. In this video, we will delve deep into the anatomy of a URL, breaking it down into its different components and explaining their functions. By understanding the structure of a URL, you will gain a better understanding of how the web works and how to optimize your own website for search engines and user experience. Before we dive into the different parts of a URL, it's important to understand its overall structure. A URL consists of several components that work together to provide a unique address for a specific resource on the internet. The general format of a URL is as follows. We have the protocol, which would usually be the HTTPS in your web browser, followed by the domain name, for example www.google.com, followed by the path, such as /search, and then the optional query or anchor. Let's break down each component and explore its role in the URL. The first part of a URL, the protocol. The protocol is the first part of a URL and indicates the method or protocol used to transfer data. The most common protocol is HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is used for accessing websites. HTTPS, HTTP Secure, is a secure version of HTTP that encrypts data to ensure privacy and security. Other protocols like FTP, File Transfer Protocol, are used for transferring files, while protocols like SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, are used for sending email. The protocol is essential for establishing a connection between the browser and the web server, ensuring that the data is transmitted correctly. The next part is the domain name. The domain name is the human-readable address of a server in the internet, such as www.example.com. However, computers communicate using IP addresses, which are numeric addresses that uniquely identify each device on the internet. When you enter a domain name in your browser, it needs to be translated into an IP address. This translation is done through a DNS, domain name system, server. The DNS server acts as a directory, matching domain names to their corresponding IP addresses. It is responsible for resolving the domain name and providing the IP address to the browser, allowing it to establish a connection with the correct web server. Once the DNS server resolves the domain name, the browser obtains the IP address of the web server hosting the website. The IP address is a unique identifier that allows the browser to establish a direct connection with the correct web server. It's like dialing a phone number to connect to a specific person. The IP address ensures that the browser communicates with the correct web server and retrieves the requested web page. Without the IP address, the browser would not know where to send the HTTP request and would not be able to access the desired website. Next, we have the path. After establishing a connection with the web server, the browser needs to specify which web page or resource it wants to access. This is done by sending the path to the server. The path is a part of the URL that comes after the domain name and is used to identify a specific page or resource on a website. For example, in the URL www.example.com/product/shoes, the path is /product/shoes, indicating that the browser wants to access the shoes page under the product section of the website. The server uses the path to retrieve the appropriate file and send it back to the browser. Now, what does the web server return to the browser? Once the server receives the path from the browser, it retrieves the requested file, whether it's an HTML document, a CSS style sheet, or a JavaScript file. These files contain the content, styling, and interactivity of a web page. The server then sends these files back to the browser, which interprets and renders them to display the web page to the user. HTML, Hypertext Markup Language, defines the structure of a web page. CSS, Cascading Style Sheets, determines its visual appearance. And JavaScript adds interactivity and dynamic functionality. Understanding how these files are delivered helps you optimize their loading time and improve the overall performance of your website. Now, you might wonder, what about the other parts of the URL which you often see in your browser? In addition to the main components we've discussed so far, URLs can also contain query strings, anchors, and file extensions. Query strings are used to pass data to a server, typically in the form of key-value pairs. They come after the path and are separated by a question mark. For example, the query string may be q equals learn and lang equals n, and indicates that the website user is searching for the keyword learn while the language preference is set the English. Anchors, also known as fragments or bookmarks, allow you to link to a specific section within a web page. They come after the path and are preceded by a hash symbol. For example, the anchor may be contact form if the browser should immediately scroll to the contact form section of the web page. The file extension is also an optional part of the URL, and indicate the type of file being accessed, such as HTML for HTML files, CSS for CSS files, and JS for JavaScript files. It may also be another file extension such as PHP, which may show the file in the server which was used to generate HTML for the web page. Now that you have a solid understanding of the different parts of a URL, it's important to consider best practices for optimizing URLs. A well-structured URL that accurately represents the content of a web page can improve search engine rankings and make it easier for users to navigate your website. Use descriptive words in the path and avoid unnecessary characters or numbers. Separate words with hyphens instead of underscores or spaces. Keep URLs concise and avoid long query strings or complex parameters. A clean and user-friendly URL not only benefits search engines but also enhances the overall user experience. URL shorteners and redirects. When and how do we use them effectively? Sometimes, you may encounter long and complex URLs that are difficult to remember or share. In such cases, URL shorteners come in handy. These services take a long URL and create a shorter, more manageable version that redirects to the original URL. URL shorteners are particularly useful for sharing links on social media or in print materials. However, it's important to use them judiciously and avoid excessive reliance on URL shorteners, as they can make it difficult to track analytics or change the destination URL in the future. Additionally, redirects are used when a web page or resource has been moved to a new URL. They automatically forward users from the old URL to the new one, preserving any search engine rankings or links. Proper use of redirects ensures that users can still access the content they are looking for, even if its URL has changed. URLs play a crucial role in web browsing, providing a unique address for accessing websites and resources on the internet. By understanding the different parts of a URL, website owners can optimize their URLs for search engines and user experience. Users can navigate the web more effectively and understand how the web works. Whether you're a website owner or an everyday internet user, having a solid understanding of URL anatomy empowers you to make informed decisions and enhance your overall web experience. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed learning with us. Please subscribe to our channel so we can create more educational videos.